All right, so what we are going to start with today is it's a big one. It's 1/4 ounce pill head, aspirin head. I think most people call it an aspirin head. Kind of more like a pill head to me, but we're going to start out with a 1/4 ounce aspirin head, pill head in the vise. We have painted it disco gold, and then over top the disco gold, I sprinkled on some disco orange, UV resin in some eyes, and then UV coated the whole jig head. So today that was kind of what I was doing today, was experimenting with some different paints, different paint techniques, mixing stuff, blending stuff, seeing how it come out. I really like how that color come out. I mean, you can see the gold, you can see the orange in it. I like the way that one come out. It come out pretty nice. Experiment with your paint some. Get it hot. Sprinkle a couple different colors on it. Be kind of surprised some of the stuff you can come up with just by mixing the paint like that. Just one thing to keep in mind is remember what you put on it to get it to come out that color. Because actually I'm thinking I might have done the disco orange first and then the disco gold over top that. But either way, I mean, you can see it. You can see the orange coming through it. A lot of gold. Really shiny with that UV resin. Paint went on kind of thick. It's got a little bit to do with that. I kind of coated it twice. But we put some glue behind the head. We're going to run our thread right to the tip of the hook, a little bit past. And we're going to go back up. And we're going to add some flash that's going to kind of match this jig. So we're going to put in, we're going to be doing a chartreuse body. So we're going to put in some, not really chartreuse, it's more of a green flash. And then we're going to put a little bit of gold flash in there with it. We got a lot of room we can go with on this jig head, so we can actually add quite a bit to it and not have to worry about getting it too bulky, getting it too full. You can see we got a long way to go before we fill that head completely all the way up. So, you start tying into the big jigs, 1/4 ounce ones and stuff like that, you've got a lot of extra room there you can play with. So most of our green flash ended up on that side, so we're going to put the gold flash on this side. And the biggest reason I'm going with gold is it's going to match that head. That way we got it even on kind of both sides. Got a little mixture of both colors on it. You could almost get away with stopping right there and making that your tail. You want a little bit thicker on that, that would be awesome. But we're going to be adding chartreuse and orange saddle hackle to this one. I think the orange, being that close to the chartreuse, is going to give us kind of a gold color look to it. But I added feathers to that side. I'm going to roll it back over on this side and put feathers on this side. I'll trim a little bit of that off. It's going to be a little bit excessively long. Let's lay that in right there on the side. That'll come out good. I like it. We will go with that. And we're going to pull that jig back out of that vise. We're going to tighten that vise down just a little bit. I was putting quite a bit of pressure on that 1/4 ounce jig head. And we are going to cover this whole shaft of that jig head with a good chartreuse base underneath of it, because we're going to be using stretch tubing to fill this one up. That's what we got so far. Let's trim a little bit of that flash off here at the end. Kind of long. Okay, we are using medium vinyl rib chartreuse color. Should go pretty good with it. We're going to pull those off enough there we can work with, so that way we can just kind of leave that spool sitting back there. And we're going to wrap it. Yeah, we're going to pull our bobbin down out of the way. We're going to cut that stretch tubing off, because I don't really like to use the rotary function on this. I'd rather wrap it by hand so that way I can see where each wrap's going and I can kind of keep it layered out real good. Just make sure all your, it's kind of like a spring when you get done. Just try to keep all your layers right against each other. Start getting up here close to the head, come around to the other side of your thread, just like you would if you was wrapping with Chanel. Get your bobbin back up here. Wrap it in. Do one more wrap right there. One more wrap behind it. No, I don't like that. Undo that. Put another wrap right there at the neck. Let's pull our vinyl tubing back over again and wrap it again. I keep missing it. Missed it again. Let's rotate it. I don't like leaving that little bump at the end where you've cut it at, so I try to get it up there as close as possible. There we go. Now we got it. Now we are going to wrap it a few more times right here at the neck. Kind of build up that tapered collar look. Once you get your UV resin on there, kind of going to look the same. And you get to that spot there like that, you don't really have to use the UV resin either. You can leave that body just like it is. Put a real light layer of UV resin on it. Let's see what we got up here. Alright, we got it. So now we are going to start coating it with our UV resin. And yep, you see I'm going on really thick with that. Then we're going to kind of chase that bubble around a little bit where it's starting to drip. Sometimes it's almost easier to do that than it is to push it around with the brush. You see how it's bonding real good with the head? Kind of making the whole jig kind of solid. And then pay attention to where your drip's at. You keep that drip evened out. Now you got it even, then hit it with that UV light and that's going to start making it tacky. That'll get that drip to quit. That's a shiny jig head for sure. It's a pretty flashy jig. Just rotate a little bit, let it get good and tacky, and that way you can put it in your UV light, hang it out in the sunlight, whatever you want to do to get it to cure. Couple more seconds and we'll start hanging it up. That's what we got. That is a super flashy jig head. That's what we got. That jig comes out really nice looking. The UV resin, the stretch tubing, the experimenting with the paint just a little bit. You know, just because you get the ProTech powder paints in, you know, different containers, dip your jig head in one and have a little paintbrush in your other one. And when you dip it in your first one and pull it out, sprinkle a little bit on top your jig head while it's still warm and that powder paint's still curing. It'll kind of change colors. A neat one to do it with is just regular green and chartreuse and you come out with, you know, different looks. If you sprinkle a little bit of blue, a little bit of white on it, you know, it changes to a totally different color. But don't be afraid to experiment with your powder paints. You're not going to ruin it. Just, you know, put a brush in it, sprinkle it on top of it. You'd be amazed at what it comes out like sometimes. That is all I got. Merry Christmas, everybody. Hope you have a Happy New Year. Like, share, subscribe. If you want to know anything, just let me know. Send me a message. That is all I got for today. See you guys.